Hello and welcome. We are on part 5 of 6. So we are, after this lesson, one more in to start with why. Now, of course, participating in the book study and watching this, I'm going to give you the highlights. So it's kind of like the cliff notes. What do I really need to know? What do I really need to implement? And that being said, like it is a great audiobook. It is a great book to read. He has really great examples thrown in, and it's a very light, easy read overall. Now, there will be moments where I'm going to recommend to pause while you're reading the book and think about how you're implementing that into your business. Now, I say that because this book clearly talks about these very large companies. And for a small business owner reading this, sometimes we have to think a little bit outside of the box because it's really easy to read it and go, well, that's a big company and I'm nowhere near that. And things I hear a lot of small business owners say is, I never want to be like that or be that big. And I'm going to caution you from thinking like that, but rather think, how can I think bigger? How can I implement these small things into my business? Because as he mentions in one simple line is that Apple started in a garage. That, they might have dreamed about being as big as they are, they might not have, right? And typically in that moment, they probably weren't thinking that big, or they had no idea what it was really going to come to, that it was taking that step, right? Like being there and thinking a little bigger. Each level you get to, you start to expand your realm of possibility. So, welcome to part 5 of Start with Why with Simon Sinek's book. And today we're going to explore the challenges that success brings and how to maintain clarity of purpose as your business grows. Again, I know we're talking about a lot of very large examples, but I think it's beautiful to see that we are probably having these challenges in our own small business, just as much as these larger companies are having it. So it's something to continuously work on, no matter the size of your business. All right, diving in. So we'll discuss how success can blur your original why and provide strategies to keep your purpose clear when you're expanding. And honestly, I will tell you from a small business solopreneur standpoint is to also like keep it clear when your mood isn't the best or when you're sick or when you feel like pivoting or when you feel like giving up, to keep tapping into that why. And that's how it's different for us versus these larger companies. And we'll dive into some more examples of that. But many businesses, in the face of success or in the face of things not going so well, inadvertently shift their focus from their foundational beliefs to chasing metrics. And for some of us, if we're having a crappy month or year, it might be like, I'm not getting the sales I want. Versus when success swings on what we would consider the more positive side, is we start saying, okay, how can we do more? How can we do better? How can we keep growing and getting disconnected from the why? It does affect us on both ends of that pendulum swing. So leading um, people back to their why when they are disconnected, it is so incredibly important. And I really wanted to make sure that we hit this. I think this was just a small paragraph in chapter 11 or 12, but I really liked how he talked about success versus achievement. He was talking about how he got to visit, I think it was the Titan group, and he was witnessing these extremely successful people and noticing that they didn't even feel that they were successful. And there's a beautiful money course that I took years ago, and a different guy, had interviewed people who owned jets, and he thought, well, surely if you've gotten to the point in your business where you can, or just in wealth, that you've purchased a jet, you must feel successful. And often what he found was that person was then looking at the bigger jet and they thought they weren't successful until they have that jet. And it just kept going and nothing was ever good enough. And that is what I have found a human condition that we can work on. So he designed success is pursuit of a worthy purpose. That achievement is reaching a specific set of goals or specific goals. And so many people could recognize their achievements, but they never felt successful unless they were aligned with a worthy purpose and that purpose was being fulfilled. So that our success and our achievements do not necessarily go hand in hand. And I'm sure we've all known someone, or maybe we've even been that way at some point where we were having achievements, but we just didn't feel successful. And often that is lacking the why. So it's crucial to understand the difference between success and achievement. While achievement refers to reaching specific goals, success is the ongoing pursuit of a worthy purpose. So ongoing, meaning you're in alignment. This perspective helps us focus on continuous growth aligned with our core values rather than merely ticking off those milestones. So, as you all know how this works, hopefully, you know by now, we're going to go over the concepts. There's going to be points of discussion for things for you to think about, and then actionable takeaways as well. So, previously, we delved into the identifying our why and aligning our actions accordingly. So now we're going to focus on sustaining that why. Our last homework, just as a reminder, and don't think of the homework necessarily as like this thing I have to do, this thing I just have to get done. Like these are extremely beautiful things to have done for your business. And it's what you gain from doing the homework. It's not checking the box of doing the homework. It is the exercise of doing these things that help you grow and develop to get where you need to be. So hopefully that helps in viewing this not as another thing on your to-do list, but rather this is the working on your business portion. All right, so Volkswagen's misstep originally stood for the people's car, right? And I think most of us in our age range, we remember Volkswagen being that reliable family people's car. And they switched at some point and suddenly they became this high-end model and it didn't go so well. Like it wasn't received as well. And in fact, they actually lost some of, or not lost it, but like Subaru started beating them out in their safety standards and started to become more of this family car. And so as they pivoted, Subaru came in and kind of swept into their position. And now they're trying to get back to their original why. And it's left them in a spot where, like, people who remember Volkswagen for being that remember it, but the newer generations might not see it that way. And so it's created confusion for the consumer and misalignment of their why. He goes into a pretty big in-depth about Walmart as well, how the original founder wanted to offer low prices and support communities. That's this post-founder era saw aggressive cost cutting, undermining employee relations and community ties, and started straying from its original mission, right? So I think we all saw this. We're like, Walmart was really cool. And then Walmart started taking this turn, and it was a lot of negative press that was happening. And, um, depending on the community you're in and where you grow up and your family's beliefs and associations around Walmart, I would say the majority of people don't necessarily have a good association with Walmart and how they treat their employees and all of that, if you're aware. So, have you observed, question, have you observed any companies that lost their way after achieving success? Right? In the very first session, we talked about Starbucks and how they lost their way, but they made a comeback. And uh, in the book for this section, he talks about even how Apple, you may or may not be aware that like Steve Jobs left and then he was brought back to establish that why. And he goes on to speak in this section to like not just the missteps, but also this succession and how it's different for someone to be replaced versus to establish succession because succession really is carrying on the torch of the why versus a replacement doesn't necessarily do that. And some of the companies he talks about that when they just replaced somebody and the why did not get carried over. I think Microsoft was another one of those that suddenly the company didn't do as well and it didn't carry as much weight. It didn't carry as much heartfelt brand recognition. There was like this mental brand recognition, but not as much heartfelt recognition. And to keep in mind that this ability to have this heartfelt recognition and building trust through your brand is what sets apart the difference between a knockoff brand and an actual brand. It could be manufactured in the exact same facility, be the exact same thing, but because it has a name brand on it, is where we recognize that. And that's actually where the term character came from, was that when you put your brand on something, there was a meaning behind that. There was an association with quality. And even with our own character and how we display our character is also our brand. Now, to go even further into that, they dropped this term called the school bus test. I totally forgot about this. I mean, I talk about this concept a lot, but I forgot about this term just because it's not the most pleasant. But if the CEO or founder was to be hit by a school bus, would the company continue? And, for the majority of us, I don't think we think about this that much, but it is a very, very top of mind topic for me because I talk to so many businesses like this that it might be a husband and wife business and they don't really know like they're like what's going to happen to the business after one of them passes or both of them passes. A lot of them have the mentality that their business will just die when they die. And that's considered a lifestyle business where it's just supporting your life in the moment, more like a contractor style. But then there are companies who, like a plumbing company, for example, I've seen this happen before where um, the owner wants to retire and it's pretty much just him and maybe a few employees and he just closes the door and closes up shop and that's it. When he very much had the opportunity to sell the company and he could have taken a little bit of time to position it to sell. And I have a current client that I'm doing this with, and she's ready to retire. And she doesn't have someone that she can just give the business to. And she has a beautiful opportunity to sell it. And there are key points that you would want to sell it, right? Like there's the brand, there's the recognition, there's the trust that is built. If you already have established employees, if you already have a book of a list of people that are already clients and but for those clients to transfer over, in this case, uh, they're going to need another business owner that has similar values and similar why that they can carry through on that why. Otherwise, why would the customers want to continue? And the same thing for you. Are you building a lifestyle business or are you building an empire? Are you building a legacy? Are you building something that could be sold, that could be handed off to a successor? And it doesn't take that much more if you're creating a business that is fueled with the why, that is foundationally set in your why, like what we're doing here. So as I present this to you, I really want to encourage you to think about this, to think about what is the why, what is the mission, and not just that, but not that you just feel it, but you can actually articulate it to someone where they could then repeat it and be your spokesperson. That is so incredibly crucial, yet it does not take that much more effort other than getting to your space and your heart for that. So, thinking of that, now looking at this maybe in a slightly different way, is a life cycle of a business. It starts with a clear why, it's driven by passion and mission. Maybe you've felt that. And then growth introduces layers of management, processes, and metrics. Hopefully, that's what you're working towards. Then we have risk of focusing more on what and how at the expense of why. And so, as you create each one of those layers of management, processes, and metrics, we want to really make sure that we infuse that why into it and that we're articulating that. As I was listening to the audiobook again this morning, and I was thinking back to some of the clients I've had over the years and going, yeah, like wouldn't it have been amazing if that CEO, like he could have easily, he had a recorded video and he could have so much easier like just spoken on the why and the impact of the business and continued to talk about that as he talked about the services and just kept coming back and reframing everything to come back to the why and how that. And if it was your first day at a company and you're watching this, and then to have each new employee after watching that to write a paragraph or even a page of the impact of the company and how it's important for their customers and the ripple effect, that it would be so ingrained in them to then really carry out their work and know that they know that. Because if they are so clear about the why and the impact, how much differently they would show up for their job. And so that also works for you. Could you do that for yourself? To record a video of all the reasons why and all the impacts and have that readily available to yourself, to write it out and to have that where you can see it so that every time you're starting your day, every time you're taking on a new project, every time you're infusing in more of the what and the how, that you're looking at that first and foremost. Because as we maintain alignment, leaders must continually communicate and embody the why. You become a leader and you have to own your power to step up as a leader in your industry. You have to step up and allow yourself to be an expert because if you are truly here to make an impact, then you are doing yourself and everyone that's going to be impacted a disservice by not stepping fully into that leadership role. So again, systems and structures should reinforce, not overshadow the core purpose. And that is so incredibly easy to do, right? It is so easy to make something out of scarcity and think, oh, but I need to create something. I need to make money now. Or I need to sell this thing because I need to make money now. And getting so caught up in the like metrics that we lose track of the why and how we are of service. So here's some strategies that he offers in the book. Some of what I've just mentioned, some strategies to continue to preserve the clarity of your purpose during any expansion. Hopefully you're expanding, right? Like hopefully that's your plan is to expand. And it requires deliberate actions. So strategy one is regular reflection sessions. Schedule periodic reviews of your company's mission and values. I really recommend to do this every single quarter. And if you lack clarity, then you should do it every single month, maybe even every week. Maybe you do this on how you start your Monday, or maybe you infuse it later in the week. If that feels too overwhelming, then at least do it once a month. And you can do that during our monthly planning session, which is the hope and the goal. And then, of course, we'll do that quarterly as well. And to engage your team members in discussions of how their roles align with the why. Strategy two is purpose-driven decision making. So before implementing any new initiatives, assess their alignment with your core purpose. Your core purpose is different than your services, right? Like, well, my core purpose is to provide this service. Really? It's the impact of that service that is the purpose, not the service itself. The service is the how. Use your why as a filter for strategic choices, ensuring consistency with your mission. Strategy three is transparent communication. And this is not just to your employees, this is social media. This is getting it out there. So we're going to focus on this in our next social media Wednesday chat where we're talking about like what's the stories, and we're going to continue to go into this in story branding. But what's the stories that exemplify your why in action, both internally and externally? Celebrate successes that highlight adherence to your core values. All right, so here's our reflective exercise. Think about a time when your business experienced growth or change. Consider any challenges that you faced in maintaining your original purpose during that period. When we first start our business, it's so challenging. And it's so important to talk about it. So I really encourage us, like office hours or just even networking, chatting with someone else, like get to know their why about their business and talk about your why. And if your whys align, it's a great collaboration opportunity. Maintaining purpose during growth is crucial for sustained success. Focus on success as the pursuit of our why. We can ensure that our achievements align with and reinforce our core mission. All right, let's look at homework five. And I will say each week's homework grows on the next one. However, like if one just seems so overwhelming that you just can't seem to do it, skip that, go to the next one. You can always come back and do the other ones. I like to think of it as like test taking, where it's like if you get stuck on one, maybe a little make a little star next to it, skip it, go to the ones you do know, and then come back to the things that were more challenging. Okay, so we're going to apply that same logic to this. So, number one is ensure your business growth aligns with your why. Consider the following steps. One, reflect on your original mission and assess its current clarity. Ensure it resonates with both you and your team. And if you don't have a team, that's okay. Or maybe it's with your collaborators. Evaluate recent business decisions. Again, this comes back to last week's homework. Review the last three major decisions you've made. I want to keep doing this. Plan for purposeful growth. Outline upcoming growth initiatives. So this is the bigger one. And develop a brief plan on how each will support and enhance your why. So I paid for it's not Story Brand, but the guy who created Story Brand has like a whole course platform and you pay like per year, and you get to access his course platform. And he has some really great books. And one, he talks about like assessing the plans and really putting more thought into it. And it really leans back to my project management days of how important it is to create a charter. And meaning you have a full plan of why the project matters, how it aligns with everything, and you want to get someone to sign off on it. And in this case, if you are the only person in your business, I want you to really consider like how much time it's going to take to implement that, how much effort it's going to take to implement that. What's the plan? And as you read that and present it to yourself, you're taking the one hat off, you're putting the other hat on, you're presenting it to yourself and saying, like, what's the return on investment? Is it that it's pointing you to your why, which yes, it should anyways. And if you're going to put this much time and effort into it, is the reward worth it? Because you may have to shift some things. You may find that like, oh, well, this is really, it's just a passion project. It's just a distraction because as a business owner, it needs to make a profit because I have to pay myself to be doing this. And am I getting paid? Is the business getting paid? And thinking from it from that perspective, because when you are in growth phase, your business decisions should be different than when you are in maintenance or affecting a different way, right? When we are in this beginning growth phase, we need capital and money, right, in order to get to a leveling off before we get to the next growth phase. And if we are just like hanging out down low, we're going to burn out. We can grow and we need capital. And then we can work on our next project planning and then we can grow again. And as you reach different stages within your business, you're going to be able to implement different projects. So you might write that project up and realize that you need more capital to make it happen, or that it's a beautiful plan, but it's a phase 2 or 3 plan so that you can really focus on what you need right here and now. All right. So next week will be our last one. It will be part 6, and then we'll be diving into the story brand. And we're going to, as I mentioned, we're going to work within our social media session tomorrow, which the recording will be up, is to start looking at these stories that infuse our why, to start really looking at our values, displaying our successes, so that when we get to our story brand, it becomes even easier because this isn't always easy stuff. We're having to dig deep. So give yourself, a pat on the back and recognize that if this was easy, everyone would have a successful business. It's really easy to start a business. It's really easy to close a business. But it's that in between section that really is a little bit more challenging. All right. I will see you for the next session.